Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We hope all of our clients are doing well. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for registering for this webinar, and thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this. As you all know, that we released the ICD-10 compliant version of SQLmed EPM last year, that is back in 2014. All the clients have gotten the release for SQLmed EPM. That release was distributed back in 2014. We did a couple of updates after that as far as the EPM is concerned. So all the clients have the new release also. If any one of you think that you don't have the newest release, please let us know through the support ticket and we'll be glad to assist. As far as the ICD-10 compliant version of SQLmed EHR is concerned, it was released this year. All the clients have been updated on SQLmed EHR ICD-10 compliant version, which is essentially the EMR. Now, as we communicated via emails and support tickets, what we have done is we have provided extensive documentation on ICD-10 workflow in EPM as well as SQLmed EHR. Now, this documentation can be accessed through our support website. Let me see if I can really quickly show you where to go and click what link to see this documentation. So once you click this, as you can see on the screen, there's a hyperlink for ICD-10 documentation. Once you click that link, you will see another page where you can see the SQLmed EHR ICD-10 documentation. Then you can see SQLmed EPM ICD-10 documentation, and then the release notes for the EHR. All the billing service clients or the billing service officers or the clients who do their own billing, as far as the EPM is concerned, you guys need to go to SQLmed EPM ICD-10 documentation. For all the physicians and doctors' offices who are primarily using EHR, you need to go to SQLmed EHR ICD-10 documentation document, and the EHR clients can review the EHR release notes, which is the third document from the top. So, once you guys go through those documents, you'll see that we have included the screenshots along with the step-by-step instructions on how the EPM and EMR will flow as far as ICD-10 is concerned. So let's just jump in. I have Dr. Atif Shah here with me, who will be basically driving the presentation and walking you guys through the details. So let's go ahead and open up SQLmed EHR document for the ICD-10 workflow. Now, what we did was, initially our intent, because the EPM version for the ICD-10 compliance was released back in 2014, and to most of our clients, we did one-on-one review, explicitly for all the billing service clients, 100% of the billing service clients, they were all given one-on-one review as far as the ICD-10 billing is concerned. So our intent for this particular webinar was to specifically concentrate on EHR, but the registration report that we saw, quite a few billing services also signed up for the webinar, so we thought we should also give some time to the EPM document and quickly walk you guys through so you guys have a refresher on this. So we'll jump in, we'll start with the EHR, followed by the EPM document, and we'll conclude with question and answers. You can have your questions ready. You can type in the chat window right after we finish with both of these documents. And once we finish with both of these documents, and then you can go ahead and type those questions, and we'll gladly answer those to your satisfaction. So Dr. Shah, can you please go through the EHR document?
Hi, everyone. So what you can see is the SQLmed EHR ICD-10 document, and I'll walk you through that. So the first page is where we give you the introduction on ICD-10. So as you know that the document basically outlines ICD-10 basics, key differences between ICD-9 and 10, along with workflow changes in SQLmed EHR, followed by FAQs and next steps to get ready for the ICD-10 transition for October 1st, 2015. Now, in basics, we have just given you an outline of the coding structure. So ICD-10 diagnosis codes have between 3 and 7 characters, as you can see. The first digit is an alpha. The second and third is the numeric. The fourth, fifth, and sixth are basically telling you about the etiology, anatomical site, and severity of the diagnosis, and they can be any combination of alpha or numeric. And the seventh digit is an extension. So that's what we have explained over here. Then followed by the ICD-10 changes in SQLmed EHR. Now, keep in mind that a visit can only have either ICD-9 or ICD-10 code. Combination is not allowed, and SQLmed EHR will validate this upon visit sign-off and or ready to bill. So here we have given you 2 scenarios. The first one is where date of service is before October 1st. If a user enters ICD-9, system would allow user to sign off and mark the visit ready to bill. But if the user enters ICD-10 before October 1st, system would allow the user to enter ICD-10 codes but would stop the user at the time of visit sign-off and at the time of ready to bill. Similarly, on and after October 1st, system will allow the user to enter ICD-9 codes but would stop the user at the time of sign-off and at the time of ready to bill. And system will only allow the user to enter and sign off and mark the visit as ready to bill with ICD-10 codes. Now talking about the changes in SQLmed EHR, as you can see, we have started off with the today's assessment and problem list windows, which are basically part of the assessment section. 2 radio buttons for ICD-9 and ICD-10 have been added, as you can see. They have been highlighted, and they'll be available on the today's assessment and problem list windows. User will have the option to toggle between ICD-9 and 10 codes by clicking either 9 or 10 radio button, as shown in the image below. So if I take you to SQLmed EHR, and I am in the assessment section, as you can see right now, I have the 9 and 10 radio buttons. So if you have selected ICD-9 radio button, you can click here and you can type in any diagnosis over here, and system would show you in the drop down in ICD-9 classification. Similarly, if you click on the ICD-10 radio button and you type in any diagnosis, system will show you that diagnosis in ICD-10 classification, and you can pick and choose from there. Along with that, we have added the ICD-9/10 radio button, which is the crosswalk icon, taking you back to the document, which is highlighted in the in this screenshot over here. Now, ICD-9 to 10 crosswalk will also be available in this case at the time of visit sign-off. All codes in today's assessment and problem list window must be in the same classification. So there cannot be a mix and match of ICD-9 and ICD-10 codes in today's assessment or problem list window. So you have to make sure that the classification is the same. Point number 2 is ICD-9/10 crosswalk. This icon has been added to the following windows. So the first window I've already shown you. It's the today's assessment window, and you can see the snapshot right here. And in SQLmed EHR, this is the icon that we are referring to. The second place that we have added is in the problem list window, and this is where we are talking about the ICD-9/10 and the problem list window. Next, we have added this on the differential diagnosis window, as you can see. So the differential diagnosis window is available over here. So whenever you have entered any diagnosis and you try to add a differential on that particular window, so let me add a diagnosis, and then when we click on the differential, this is the differential window, and here is the ICD-9/10 crosswalk icon. Now keep in mind that this crosswalk icon on all these windows, today's assessment, problem list, and differential, will only work from 9 to 10 meaning forward mapping. So it will only show you crosswalk from 9 to 10. If you try to do it from 10 to 9, system will not allow you, system will not show you to see the crosswalk from 10 to 9. So it works only one way, from 9 to 10. The next place that we have added is on the encounter form under EMR charges window. So if I take you to the encounter form, I'm going to click on the encounter form, and in the encounter form, we have this ICD-9/10 radio button, the icon right over here. The next place that we have added is in the design. So in the design, we have added it under, in the template in the assessment window. We have added it in the section window under assessment type. We have added it in the chief complaint window under assessment window. We have added it under chief complaint where you do the ICD search. We have added the same icon in the pick list window where you do the ICD search. We have added it in the in design immunization when you try to create a new vaccine. Since we have the option of entering, hooking up ICD codes, we have added the ICD-9/10 crosswalk icon over there as well. Under design procedure, we have also added the ICD-9/10 radio icon because of the option of adding the ICD codes. Next, adding a diagnosis code on the encounter form. Now, 2 radio buttons for ICD-9 and 10 search will be available on the assessment window while adding a new ICD code to the encounter form as we have shown it in the image below. So I'll take you to SQLmet EHR. On the encounter form, in the ICD window, when you click on add, this is where you're trying to create encounter, you're trying to add a diagnosis to your encounter subset. So when you click on add, it takes you to this add ICD window. On this window, when you click on the magnifying glass, it takes you to the assessment search window. Now this is the place where you can search for diagnosis depending upon the radio button. So you have both ICD-9 and ICD-10 radio buttons. So depending upon which one you have selected, you can search in that particular classification. So if I click on ICD-10 and if I type in diabetes, system will give me all the particular codes in ICD-10 for diabetes. And then I can pick and choose from there. Next point is EMR charges in encounter form. Bidirectional crosswalk icon between ICD-9 and ICD-10 will be available on this window. Now here we are talking about the encounter form. Under EMR charges window, we have this ICD-9/10 radio icon. This icon is working in both directions. So it's a bidirectional mapping icon. It will show you mapping from 9 to 10 as well as from 10 to 9. New workflow with ICD-10.
So everyone, these were the places where the new functionality was added, the new icons were added, or the new buttons were added for crosswalk and so forth, and Dr. Shah showed you, where to put the diagnosis and how to pick a diagnosis. So now, starting with the workflow, the intent of making these steps was so that the physician or the nursing staff knows how to flow in the EMR, with the ICD-10 functionality enabled. So, we tried our best to have these as short and as concise as possible. So these are the steps that Dr. Shah will walk you through that you can follow to work with ICD-10 in EMR.
Step number 1 is to select a patient and open up a clinical visit. Step number 2 is to go to assessment section. Step number 3 is to, in the assessment section, go to today's assessment window. Now in EMR, as you know, I have already selected the patient and we are already in the assessment section. So, and in the assessment section, we are already in today's assessment. So those were the 3 steps that I just mentioned. Step number 4, please make sure to click the appropriate ICD-9 or ICD-10 radio button. So make sure that you have selected the appropriate radio button. If you're looking for a diagnosis code in ICD-9, make sure you click ICD-9. And if you're doing the 10, make sure you click on ICD-10 so that you can find your diagnosis in that particular classification. Point 5, based on the above ICD classification selection, start typing patient diagnosis in the SNOMED search field. This is the SNOMED search field that we're talking about over here right now. So if you type in here, that's the one. This is the SNOMED search field. Point number 6, based on your typing, system will show you the available diagnosis. Please click on the appropriate diagnosis from the list. System will now add it to the list of today's assessment. Here, so now if I take you to SQLmed EHR, and if I type in a diagnosis, it showed you in the drop-down. Now if you click and choose anyone from this drop-down, it will be added to the list of your today's assessment. So if I click on the first option, that one has already been added, but I can add a different one, like this, and that will be added to the list of today's assessment. Point number 7, to add more assessments, please repeat the above steps 5 and 6, just like I showed you. Point number 8, if user wants to bill this visit in ICD-10 and the patient has a pre-existing problem or assessment in ICD-9 classification, user can select the existing ICD-9 code and then use the ICD-9 to ICD-10 crosswalk icon to look for approximate codes in ICD-10. So here in this case, I have some codes over here in ICD-9. So if I click on that particular ICD-9 field, and if I click on the crosswalk icon, it will show me the general equivalence mapping window, and it will show me that this is the ICD-9 code that you selected, and this is the most approximate ICD-10 code available for that diagnosis. So I can click on the ICD-10 option, and I can do select and close, and that will swap the code with ICD-10. Point number 9, to add problems in problem list, please follow the same general steps as discussed above for adding assessment in problem list window. So just like today's assessment window, in problem list window we have the same options. You can select from the radio buttons, whether it's ICD-9 or ICD-10, and you can click on the SNOMED drop-down, type in your diagnosis, and system will give you the most approximate options. You can click on the option, and that will be added to your list of diagnoses. Point number 10, please make sure that a visit can only have ICD-9 or ICD-10 code. Combination is not allowed, and EMR will validate this on visit sign-off or ready to bill. So at this point where I have both 9 and 10, if I try to sign off my visit, system will stop me right there and then. It will give me a message that you cannot use 9 and 10 in the same visit. SQLmed EHR will look at the date of service to determine if the visit should be coded in ICD-10 or ICD-9. Once all is set, please sign off the visit.
Now, as far as the date of service is concerned, as you guys all know, any visits prior to October 1st, they must be coded and submitted in ICD-9. However, any visits with date of service October 1st and later should be coded and submitted in ICD-10. So what we did was we programmed a few checks in our system. So system will automatically see if the date of service for a specific visit is before October 1st, it will ensure that that visit is coded in ICD-9. Even though if you click the ICD-10 radio button and enter ICD-10 code over there and try to sign off the visit, system will not allow you to sign off the visit, saying only ICD-9 code can be entered for the date of service before October 1st, and vice versa.
Point number 11 is to go to the encounter form, make sure all ICD codes in EMR charges window are in the same classification, either 9 or 10. If they are not, make sure to use the ICD 9/10 radio crosswalk icon and change it so that all of them are in the same classification. Point number 12, at this point, if all charges are entered, this visit is ready to be marked as ready to bill, and you can go ahead and mark it as ready to bill. We have listed some FAQs over here, most commonly asked questions. What are the key differences between 9 and 10? Key differences are length of ICD-10 code has been expanded from a maximum of 5 characters to a maximum of 7 characters. There are approximately 13,000 ICD-9 codes, whereas there are approximately 68,000 ICD-10 codes. ICD-10 code set provides a significant increase in specificity of the reporting, allowing more information to be conveyed in a code. For example, it enables reporting of laterality, right versus left, reflecting the importance of which side of the body or limb, for example, left arm, left shoulder, left kidney, is the subject of evaluation. Is SQLmed EHR ready for ICD-10? Yes, we are. When is Medicare's compliance deadline for ICD-10? As you all know, it's October 1st, 2015. What does ICD-10 compliance mean? Well, ICD-10 compliance means that all HIPAA-covered entities must utilize ICD-10 codes for healthcare services rendered on or after the compliance date. Please note that for all visits with date of service before October 1st, ICD-9 codes must be used. The next question is, would the system allow the users to sign off a visit with ICD-10 codes prior to October 1st, 2015? No. EMR will not allow users to sign off a visit prior to October 1st, 2015. Next question is, would the system allow the users to mark the visit as ready to bill using ICD-10 codes prior to October 1st, 2015? No. EMR will not allow users to mark visits ready to bill prior to October 1st, 2015.
So these were the two checks I was talking about previously, point number 5 and point number 6. If you notice, the two checks are, if the ICD classification based upon data service is not correct, system will stop you either at sign off or at ready to bill. Because the physicians can first sign off a visit and the biller or the billing department can then later on mark it as ready to bill. System checks at both checkpoints and stops the sign off as well as ready to bill if the data service is not per the classification of ICD codes that's used.
Similarly, question number 7 is, on and after October 1st, 2015, would the system allow the users to use ICD-9 codes? If date of service is prior to October 1st, system would allow the users to enter, sign off, and mark visits ready to bill. But if date of service is October 1st or after, system would allow the users to enter ICD-9 codes but would not allow to sign off or mark visits ready to bill. Here you can only use ICD-10 codes. Next question, question number 8. On or after October 1st, 2015, what code classification should I use for claims with dates of service prior to October 1st, 2015? You should use ICD-9 codes for claims with date of service prior to October 1st, regardless of when you submit the claim. The date of service is what determines what code classification needs to be submitted. Next question, question number 9. Does ICD affect CPT codes for outpatient procedures? No. ICD-10 codes will not affect CPT codes for outpatient procedures. Next question, question number 10. What type of training would my staff need? There's no special training required. Your office staff who's involved in coding needs to go through this document in detail and must have a basic understanding of ICD-10 codes. Next question, question number 11. can I use a general equivalence mapping tool for ICD-10? As I showed you, in SQLmet EHR, there's a built-in general equivalence mapping, which is referred to as the ICD-9/10 icon, to help find the most approximate diagnosis in the system.
So gentlemen, these were the FAQs. We try to accommodate all different type of questions that we could think of. If you have any questions outside of these FAQs, please feel free to either communicate those to us at the end of this webinar through the questions window, or you can open up a support ticket and let us know what sort of questions you have, and we'll be glad to answer. So now in the next section, what we are doing is we are going to walk you through the next steps. So, you know, everybody has a new release now. You guys are pretty much familiar with ICD terminology. You are aware that, you know, these are going to be effective for the data service of October 1st and onward. So far as we know, all the carriers, or all the insurance carriers rather, are ready to accept the ICD-10 codes. If there's an exception, some carriers not you know, ready to accept the ICD-10, we'll cross that bridge when we are there. But, you know, so far through all the clearing houses, we have been sort of assured that, you know, everybody's ready for ICD-10. So these are the next steps after the update. So, you know, first, the expected date of ICD-10 version update. SQL will create, rather SQL has already created the support tickets for most of the clients. If any client is left out and has not been updated yet on the ICD-10 compliant version of SQLmet EMR, please open up a support ticket. We'll try to address that as soon as possible so that you guys have enough time before October 1st to go through and have the update. So point number 2, ICD-10 order sets. Dr. Shah will walk you through. You know, our intent is to try to facilitate our clients as much as possible. So what we are doing is we'll create the order sets for the customers, because, you know, most of the clients may not be too privy to go into the design module and, you know, build out the order sets. So we have taken on this responsibility. We'll do it free of cost. We want to help our clients as much as possible and make this transition as seamless and as effortless as possible. So we'll create the order sets for you, and in a coming point, Dr. Shah will walk you through, you know, the encounter form that is for the clients to create and or update. So Dr. Shah, if you can go through point number 2, just, you know, go through the specialties of the physicians and then come to point number 3.
Yes. So for the commonly used order sets, any physician who is you know, falling in any of these specialties, we can create a cheat sheet for ICD-10 codes, which will be available in the assessment section in the order set drop-down, where you can pick and choose. You can check off the boxes. It'll be easier for you to find your diagnosis. And we have listed the specialties. We have you know, nephrology, cardiology, pulmonology, hem-onc, infectious disease, gastroenterology. We have neurology, podiatry, chiropractic, PTs, orthopedics, OBGYN, endocrinology, rheumatology, bariatrics, and general surgery. So we'll be creating those cheat sheets, and they'll be available in your assessment section in the order set. The next point is the encounter subset. Now, all clients need to make sure that ICD-10 encounter form is created ahead of October 1st, 2015. For ASP clients, SQL will create a blank ICD-10 code encounter form. Users can then add ICD-10 codes specific to their specialty and maintain that list. For non-ASP clients who have EMR security application, they can themselves create a new encounter subset for ICD-10 codes that are specific to their specialty. So when you log in into SQLmet EHR, in the encounter form, you will see a drop-down over here where you find the encounter subset. You can pick and choose ICD-10, and it'll be blank, so you can start adding ICD-10 codes relevant to your specialty. For ASP clients, we'll create that encounter subset, so you can see that in your drop-downs, and you can start adding, like I showed you, to click on the add icon, go to the magnifying glass, and then click on ICD-10 radio button, find your diagnosis, and, you know, keep on adding, so you can have your list. But for non-ASP clients who have EMR security applications, they can go to EMR security application, create a new encounter subset, which will then show up in this dropdown, and they can then add more diagnoses to that list.
So really two things here. What we want to make sure and communicate to you is that the encounter for ICD-10 needs to be created. For ASP clients, we'll create a blank ICD-10 encounter in your system. So you need to make sure to go into a visit, select that encounter, and we are naming it as ICD-10. So go into that and start adding your ICD-10 codes over there. For non-ASP clients, you guys already have the EMR security application. You can go into the security application. You can create an encounter subset over there. Then come back to EMR, go into a visit, or even using the security application, you can go ahead and populate all the codes for ICD-10. Now, this is in a way important for all those clients who are not yet live or actively using the clinical workflow. So a patient comes in, you guys open up a EC visit and then enter the charges. So all those clients who are on this particular workflow and not using the clinical workflow should absolutely create or update the ICD-10 encounter form, because this is primarily the space or the place where you guys pick the ICD codes from. Alternatively, if you don't have an encounter form ready for ICD-10, you can always go ahead and feel free to type the codes in, but just for convenience sake, just have that ready. For the other type of clients who are actually live on the clinical aspect of EMR and you are creating clinical visits instead of encounter visits, most of the assessments and problem lists will flow directly over to the charges section, the encounter section, because those are the clients that we have seen. They rarely use the encounter form and pick the ICDs from encounter form. But again, both ways are available. You can create or update your encounter form. You can go ahead and type in the ICD codes in the charges section. And the clients who are using the EMR, via clinical workflow, the codes will be available through assessment. I think this concludes the EHR section. In case there are any questions or concerns, open up a support ticket. Again, we'll take some questions right at the end of the webinar if time allows. We are going to now jump to EPM for our billing service clients.
So with EPM, I have the EPM document up, and the way we have this document is, again, in the beginning we have the ICD-10 basics, which I already discussed in the EHR document. So I'm going to bypass that and come straight to the ICD-10 changes in SQLmet EPM. So SQLmet EPM is ICD-10 ready, as you all know, and Tomas told you already. The code set claims can be submitted through electronic or paper submission methods for EPM. Now, I'll walk you through exactly the changes that we have made in EPM. The first place is the diagnosis profile. 3 radio buttons for ICD-9, ICD-10, or all are available under Profile Coding Diagnosis Profile under ICD flag. Users will have the option to toggle between ICD-9 and ICD-10 codes by clicking either ICD-9 or ICD-10 radio button, which you can see over here in the snapshot in the ICD flag window. Users can then look up for these codes by using ICD, which is this field here, diagnosis right below, and description right next to it, as shown in the image below. So I'm going to take you to the EPM, and if we go to Profiles and then Coding, and then we go to the Diagnosis window, here, this is the window that we're talking about, and here's the ICD flag. So we have ICD-9, ICD-10, and all. So if I click on all, I can see all codes, both in ICD-9 and ICD-10, and there's an ICD-10 flag column, which is telling you whether it's, ICD-10 or not. So you can search, you can click on ICD-9 radio button, and you can type in any diagnosis and find it. You can do the same thing in ICD-10. So that's the first place where we have done the change. Next place is on the visit charge entry window. Visits may be created using either ICD-9 or ICD-10 diagnosis codes, and SQLmed EPM will automatically report the corresponding indicator for ICD-9 or ICD-10 when submitting electronically or printing using the revised CMS 1500 version 212 or UB04 claim form. SQLmed EPM allows changing diagnosis codes from 9 to 10 and vice versa for existing visits. This dual coding functionality will facilitate users to choose diagnosis coding scheme depending upon the patient's insurance. If a payer still only accepts ICD-9 and visit is created with 10, user can update the charge with 9 codes and submit. The same can be done for visits which were created using ICD-9 codes. SQLmed EPM also provides diagnosis code crosswalk that allows user to select an approximate ICD-10 code for an ICD-9 code and vice versa. And it is the crosswalk icon, which is 9/10, and I'll show you in a moment, that has been provided in charge entry, visit detail, patient plan extra info, anesthesia case, HL7, and EMR charge editing windows, where user can enter an ICD code, click the 9/10 button to see the crosswalk available for that code as shown in the following 2 images below. So I'll take you to the EPM on the claim editing window, on the charge entry window. As you can see, we have the diagnosis here in ICD-9. So if I click on the 9/10 icon, that will give me the approximate codes in ICD-10, and then I can, select it from here. If I click select, that will change the 9 to 10. And this is the snapshot that I just showed you. Users can then click on the select button to select the appropriate code into the diagnosis field respectively as shown below, and that will change it to the ones that you have selected. Please note that if the selected combination from the crosswalk exceeds the number of diagnosis codes remaining to enter for a charge, SQLmed EPM will inform the user to continue with the selection as shown below. While entering and or updating a single charge in a visit, both ICD-9 and ICD-10 codes cannot be entered at the same time. SQLmed will prompt message as shown below. Here, system, this is the message. It would say ICD-9 is not allowed when primary diagnosis is ICD-10. In this case, if I try to save this, system will give me this message. ICD-10 is not allowed when primary diagnosis is ICD-9. So in this case, as you can see, the primary diagnosis is ICD-9, and I have the secondary diagnosis in ICD-10, so system is not allowing that.
This also works in the other scenario where the primary diagnosis is ICD-10 and the secondary diagnosis or the diagnosis number 2 that you're entering is in ICD-9. So this message will read as ICD-9 is not allowed when primary diagnosis is ICD-10. So it works both ways. The intent is not to allow the user to mix and match the ICD-9 and 10 codes when entering a charge.
The third place where we have made the change is on the claim editing window. A new edit with the code X008 is available in plan edit link to validate visit for ICD classification as shown below. And this is the snapshot where we are showing the X008, and it's telling you that claim contains both 9 and ICD-10 codes.
So the purpose of this particular edit is to ensure that when you guys are in claim submission and when you, claim editing, and when you are actually editing the claims out, it will go through every claim and make sure that the claim does not have a mix and match of ICD-9 and ICD-10. It is named as F008, and Dr. Shah will go into EPM to show you where it actually is. So we need to go into profiles, coding, click and scroll come.
So
So here you can see the X008 that was created. You can mark it as a warning or an error or just override it by selecting no. So this is the place where you come to set this edit up if you want a warning in claim editing or tag it as an error. Warnings, as you all know, can be overridden. Errors cannot be overridden, so somebody will be forced to go into the wizard and make sure that the classification is same, either ICD-9 or ICD-10, before passing it through the claim editing.
Now, during claim editing, if a claim doesn't have uniform diagnosis coding scheme, the edit will trigger and prompt a message as shown in the red below, telling you that it has both ICD-9 and 10 codes and may be rejected by the payer.
So the fact that you guys are seeing this message is because of the fact that that particular edit, X008, was in place. So that's the edit that was used to scrub the claims. And Dr. Shah, if you can double click. So as you can see, when we double click a wizard, it shows us the error message, and this is where that edit came in handy, and it is telling me that I think 9 and 10 cannot be mixed in this particular wizard.
Next place where we've made the change is the claim submission. In order to submit a claim, paper or electronic, all codes must be in the same classification, either 9 or 10. In case of paper submission, if a claim doesn't have uniform diagnosis coding scheme, SQLmet EPM will prompt a message as shown below. So as you can see, SQL has prompted that both ICD-9 and 10 codes are present, and it may be rejected by the payer. And in EPM, if I take you to paper submission, here is the patient. Next, in case of electronic submission, if a claim doesn't have uniform diagnosis coding scheme, EPM will again inform the user in a validation message column as shown below, and I'll show you that in EPM. So if I click on the electronic submit icon, and here we have an example. So if we double click, it'll give us again the same message that both 9 and 10 codes are present and may be rejected. So if you look above, you'll see there's a 10 and a 9 code, and that's why it can be rejected. Now, that concludes the EPM document. Again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to open a support ticket, and we'll be glad to assist you.
So we'll wait a minute or so before you guys can post any questions if you have. We have about 12 minutes available in our webinar, so we can go over those. Okay, so we have a few questions that we can go ahead and answer. The first one is, will SQL automatically default to ICD-10 after October 1st, so we don't have to click ICD-10 for each diagnostic code? If
not, this is adding a lot of extra clicks daily.
At this point, we will not automatically switch to ICD-10 because of the fact that a wizard can have a data service of October 1st, and beyond or before October 1st. So, at this time, we have left it to clients, however they want to select the ICD-9 or 10 radio button. But in upcoming releases, what we are thinking, and we also need your feedback on this, is that we'll be removing the ICD-9/10 radio buttons, once we ensure that the timely filing period is over and there can possibly be no remaining claims for date of service prior to October 1st. We realize it's an extra click, and we'll get rid of it in a subsequent release after, we are sure that ICD-9 claims cannot be submitted or should not be submitted after that date. So I hope this addresses your question. Next question we have is when we can get a copy of the presentation for the EHR. We'll upload the recording, and you guys can download and review that recording later on. And as I mentioned earlier, the documentation is already available through the support site, so do log into the support website and look for a link on top which says ICD-10 documentation. That will show you the two documents that we went through, and the third document for detailed EHR release notes.
The next one is on Encounter. I have a group of infusions that are bundled with ICD-9 codes. How can I update those? Like I mentioned, we'll be creating a new Encounter subset for ICD-10 codes so that you can, keep your ICD-9 existing codes as it is. And by clicking on the drop-down, you can have your ICD-10 codes separate. So make sure to add your ICD-10 codes in that particular Encounter subset so you have a kind of a line between 9 and 10.
The next question we have is there an ICD indicator on the claim form in box 21 of the claim form, and what is that indicator? So as far as the indicators are concerned, in electronic claims as well as paper claims, yes, the indicator will be there. Whatever appropriate indicators are there for ICD-10 classification versus 9, it will be there to tell the insurance carrier that, if the visit is coded in ICD-9 or 10. So far, these were all the questions that we have received. We still have a few minutes to conclude the webinar, so if you guys have any questions, please do ask now. The next question is, we cannot find the link for the ICD-10 EHR presentation. Let me show you. So when you go to the support website, you can see the link for ICD-10 documentation. Once you click that, you'll come onto this particular page where all these three documents are listed, which I described. The first one being SQLmed EHR ICD-10 documentation. We went through this document. Then is the SQLmed EPM ICD-10 documentation. We also went through this document. And the third document here is SQLmed EHR release notes. So these are the detailed release notes that we give to the client through the ticketing system before we update their EHR. So if any particular client cannot see this, please open up a support ticket. We'll be more than glad to help. We don't see any additional questions at this time, so we'd like to conclude the webinar. Again, a ton of thanks to all of you who have taken their time out of their already crowded and busy routines, we know, and attended this webinar. If there's any feedback or any additional questions, you're most welcome. Please do let us know so we can improve our webinars going forward. If somebody has not been updated on the new versions, please do let us know. We'll try to do that as soon as possible, so you have plenty of time to play with and make yourself comfortable. Do read these documents in detail. Give handouts of these documents to your staff if appropriate and if you that's necessary, because essentially this is the training for ICD-10. So just like Dr. Shah went over one of the FAQs where it asks, do I need any special training or what training do I need for my staff? This is really what it is. Give a copy of these documents to your staff, as appropriate for physician offices. Give them the SQLmed EHR ICD-10 documentation workflow. Into the billing services users, give them the EPM ICD-10 documentation. Once they make themselves comfortable with these two documents, ask questions, we are pretty certain that come October 1st, the switchover should be pretty seamless. Again, thank you all, and we hope it went well, and you guys will let us know if there's any questions. Thank you. Bye-bye.